Yeah, I'm from Western New York, and probably like most of the people in this room, we've had a couple of years of low milk prices, and we've been kind of looking for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And so we followed the rainbow, and unfortunately we didn't find a pot of gold there. We found a porta potty. So we're still looking for our pot of gold. This is our main operation. This is the operation that I grew up on. There's a 60-stall Westphalia surge road open, about 2,400 cows here 3 times a day right now. My younger brother Matthew manages this farm on a day-to-day basis. There's a sand separator here. Right here now is a methane digester. We've been running that since about the beginning of the year. This is the original facility. We kind of expanded down the road, and we still milk our hospital cows through the old parlor. A few of the highlights of this farm: the Westphalia surge rotary parlor we built in 2001. We've been really happy with that. The sand separator, McClanahan sand separator, and the methane digester. So there has been some hiccups to that methane digester. Probably the jury is still out on it in my eyes a little bit, but right now it seems to be operating pretty well. But that hasn't always been the case. There was a few hiccups to work out of the system. The second farm, which is one of the farms that I manage on a day-to-day operation, we purchased this in 1998. It's 5 miles south of the main facility. We milk about 1,250 cows 3 times a day here. The parlor is Twin 10 herringbone parlors here. This is a transition facility we built about 5 years. The highlights of this farm is that transition facility, and we calve all of our cows out in like a 10 by 10 box stall, and they stay into a sand bedded free stall until they're about ready to calve, and they'll only be in these box stalls for about 2 or 3 hours and then back out to the free stalls. And that's really made fresh cow mastitis about non-existent and decreased our bedding costs quite a bit, so we've been really happy with that transition facility. The calves from the 2 main operations are brought together at about 1 day of age, and this facility is it's less than a quarter mile from our main farm. We grow the calves here till about 6 months of age. These are some wet calf barns here. We have the capacity for about 450 calves, 500 calves on milk at any one time. There's about 1,200 head of heifers here right now. We do have a hospital milk pasteurizer, and we run 4x8 pens and 2 row barns. And each one of these barns holds about 100 calves. In a minute, I'll talk about the farm that we started up in January, but incidentally, we don't have a pasteurizer on that farm. We have something it's called UV Pure that's put out by that GEA surge, and we've had that in for a couple months now and been really happy with that. But it kills the bacteria instead of by hot water, by heat with ultraviolet light, and it's kind of an interesting system. And like I said, so far we've been really happy with that. The heifer facility is about 5 miles to the north of the main farm, and you hear me say 5 miles this way, 5 miles that way. Well, it's kind of nice because we can bring the manure out to the closest fields and then bring the forages to the closest farm, so it works really well from that standpoint. This was taken about 3 years ago, but right here now there's a 1,500 head barn that we have bred heifers and heifers that are in AI. Right now there's a manure pit that sits right about here. And this barn, like this barn, the heifers eat on the outside, which is about 2/3 of the cost of a drive-through feed alley. Another barn was added right here, and we kind of call that our ET barn, and we can put about 100 heifers, 80 to 100 heifers in there, and those are heifers that are on bedded pack. They're smaller pens. We keep them on dry hay for heifers that we're either going to show or maybe some high index heifers that we're trying to take a little better care of or intensively flushing. Lakeshore Dairy is the dairy that we purchased in January of this year, and it may seem like it's kind of an odd time to buy a dairy, and it was, but we had a kind of a good sideline operation or business going that we sold about 400 to 500 fresh heifers each year, and they sold for between $2,500 and $3,000. We would let somebody come in and kind of cherry pick the heifers. Originally, I thought, I didn't know if that was the right thing to do, but 3 or 4 months after they came in and take 36 out, you almost didn't really even realize they were gone. It went away when the price of milk went down. I either was going to have to sell them at my cost or even a little bit under. So rather than doing that, we decided to look into different facilities, and this facility came for sale. It's 40 miles west of our main operator, and I take turns kind of every other day or five days a week. Either one of us is up there. We don't go up there on the weekend, but we do have 2 really good top quality people there that also keep track of things. So we call this Lakeshore Dairy because it's less than a mile from the shore of Lake Ontario. A little bit about our cropping operation. Lakeshore Dairy there, we till about 1,500 acres. That's entirely custom harvested and planted. But the other 9,000 acres that we till at our main 2 operations, we do that all in-house. So it's about 10,500 acres total. We do have a non-family partner that manages the crops, forages, haylage, alfalfa haylage, and corn silage for the heifers and the cows. We do have some vegetables. Peas, beets, and cabbage are the 3 big vegetables that we run. This is a picture of our drag line. We have probably about 8 miles of underground pipeline. We separate the manure and then we can pump it pretty easily underground. We have 2 remote lagoons that are between 2 and 5 miles from a few different operations, so that in the middle of the winter time when the conditions aren't really right for us to be putting manure out, we can pump it underground. I'll briefly touch on some aspects of our registered cow program. It's something that we're interested in, and it's a passion of ours. My wife Alicia and I, like I said before, like to come to functions like this and talk to people and learn from people. And probably we could keep ourselves busy enough with a commercial operation if this isn't something that we really enjoyed. We started in the business by buying embryos 12 years ago. We kind of understood that our recipient availability was our competitive advantage. We didn't have knowledge or expertise like a lot of people in this room in developing good cow families and developing top cows. So we let people who understood how to do that concentrate on that, and we put the embryos in. And we have 7 years. We have focused a little bit, because embryos are more expensive than they were 12 years ago, on developing a few of our own cows and buying heifers. In the past year, we've been planting a little over 1,400 embryos. We do use several ET vets. I also have an older brother that's a veterinarian, and he spends 1 day a week on the farm, and he puts in IVF embryos for us. The overall conception rate is about 57%, fresh embryos 60, frozen embryos 53. I think about 6 months ago, because we were getting a lot of embryos in the tank, we started implanting a lot of embryos in-house, and I have a herdsman that we trained to do that, and we bought an ultrasound machine to diagnose CLs, and he also does some pregnancy checking. So I think we'll probably do more and more of that as time goes on. And one of the things that I pay attention to is how many recipients that the ET vet decides not to use because he doesn't like the CL on the cow or doesn't think she's quite right. But when the herdsman, who is a good herdsman, sees the cow in standing heat himself, he's a lot less likely, I think, to be skeptical over whether or not the CL is good. And he doesn't end up throwing out as many recipients. What our passion is more on high-type females and show families, maternal lines that consistently transmit. More recently, we have diversified into some high-index and genomic cow families, and I'm actually glad that we had a few of those kind of in the pipeline. This cow here is one that hails from the Windsor Manor Rudolph Zip cow family. It's been a really popular index cow for us, and is tested well genomically, and her calves have also. So our program was large enough and we were diversified enough that we were fortunate when the market shifted a little bit to try to take advantage of some of those. Try to have a pretty good cross-section of a lot of the really popular families and strong maternal lines in the breed. Here's just a few of them. And that's part of what we do when we go to shows and try to identify, what sires are working well and what families seem like they're showing up in the shows a lot and are impressing us. Our marketing program probably centers around our sales series that we have every other year. This is the 3rd sale that we have had. We have another sale scheduled for next year. We do market cows privately. We do market cows in between and different sales. But probably the center of our marketing program is the sales series that we host ourselves that are all of our own animals. And this is the high seller last year. We were fortunate enough to invest in some genetics from James Rose the year before she won in Madison, so a little bit of luck and a little bit of good timing there helped us out with that.